This is the Loaded Radio Podcast.
It's another edition of the Loaded Radio Podcast, and hey, I'm Scott Penfold here with you for another week, and this week I am talking to the one and only Tim Ripper Owens, who is the frontman, of course, for KK's Priest. He was the frontman for Judas Priest, and he's fronted a ton of other bands. Iced Earth, he's worked with Yngwie Malmsteen, just an incredible vocalist. So I'll be talking to Tim in just a few moments, because there's so much to talk to Tim about, because not only is he one of the most, I think, distinctive voices in metal right now, but he's also just worked with so many people. Now, for the second portion of the podcast, Johnny Roode is off this week. We'll be reconnecting with him next week live from Las Vegas. So the second portion of the podcast, we'll be talking about the week that was in hard rock and metal, right? Without Johnny this week, it's just going to be just me. But as I was saying, first off, we're going to be talking to this guy here, frontman for KK's Priest. I mean, when you look at his resume, fronting Judas Priest, I mean, not just that, though, but as well, working with Iced Earth, Yngwie Malmsteen, touring with the Three Tremors, great solo career, and I think some of the best pipes in metal today. Tim Ripper Owens from KK's Priest. Tim, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. How are you, Scott?
First off, I got to say the new album, it's fantastic. I love Sermons of the Sinner, man. You guys sound amazing. How did the whole thing come together initially? Like, who made that first phone call?
Well, KK called me. You know, we did a show November of 19. David Ellison was going to be playing a venue KK's part of, KK's Steel Mill. And then David had said, hey, you know, come out and jam with us. Ken, come on and do a couple tunes. So that started it. And then they called me. Someone said, man, you should get Ripper. So I flew out. That kind of started the ball rolling, I think. And then, you know, when Ken wasn't going to do the 50th anniversary tour for Priest, I think he wanted to put a record out. So he called me, said, hey, I got an idea. You want to do a record? And, you know, he knows that I'm really busy. I'm always doing something. I got the Three Tremors and A New Revenge and all this stuff going on. But I was like, absolutely. Let me hear some stuff. Then I heard it and I was like, wow, this is, and this was, I don't know when it really happened. I know one thing. I listened to songs early February, probably of 2020. And I was really sold then, but yeah, you know, he just had the idea. He's never done anything like this. He's never put a record out. He's only just, you know, really mainly has done Judas Priest, you know.
Was this thing kind of like a hush thing for a while there? Did you guys want to like keep it under wraps?
You know, it didn't seem to be too long. I think once we started talking about it, you know, I think the ball started rolling, you know. We couldn't get, we wanted to get a band together too that was going to be a solid band. And, you know, obviously Les Binks was going to do it originally, but he hurt his wrist. And so we got Sean, my drummer, and Three Tremors. And I think we released it as fast as we could. And then we got Tony and AJ, and it just, you know, put ourselves a nice band together and released it as soon as we can. I don't think it was too much hush going on, you know?
Right. Now, I was going to actually just ask about Les Binks. So is he still involved at all?
You know, from what I seem to hear is that, you know, he'll make some appearances at some shows and do some things like that, you know. Right. With him hurting his wrist, I think touring and the grind of touring, that's the issue. You know, he could play some local shows or do some sit-ins, but, you know, touring it beats you up, you know, and it's a hard thing to do, to get on the road like that. And, you know, after he hurt his wrist, I think it was really like, man, you know, we got to make sure we got this thing covered with someone. But you know, he's so awesome. He's such a great guy and such an awesome player. And you know, I grew up, you know, listening to him back, you know, those old records. And so hopefully he'll do the appearances once we get out on the road. I mean, that seems to be the plan. You know, I don't know where, when, who, how, but I know that's the plan.
And just, you know, listening to some of the tracks too, I mean, just pure metal, pure rock and roll. Tell me about the title track, Sermons of the Sinner. What can you tell me about that one?
Well, you know, Ken wrote all the lyrics and wrote it, and he really did this record to, you know, you hear these records and these song titles and the lyrics, and they're all evolve around the industry and him and the fans and, you know, his career, what he's done. here he is. And I think that's the thing. And the thing about Sermons of the Sinner is it's a classic metal track, you know. The music is, and the singing, you know, it's funny because the singing originally was raspier. When I did it, I recorded all my vocals the first week of March in England before the pandemic hit. And when I got back, we had time to live with it. And Ken was like, man, we should do those lyrics, you know, cleaner. We should try it because it was raspier and nastier, the verses. So, you know, we totally changed that around to make it more of a cleaner kind of a singing. So it's kind of the records, you know, that song was definitely the balls out high note. People are like, oh my God, he's singing high notes. People who don't like it, and I'm like, all this is high notes. I'm like, you know, that's one song, you know, it's like, there's no other song on that record like that song.
No,
you know, that is the, you know, I always say that's the scream machine for my records. That's that type of song.
Yes, and it's definitely got the Tim Ripper Owens scream. I love it. I think it's a killer track, man.
It's a killer track. You know, I love singing high notes. I've sang them since I started singing. You know, people always try to pencil me in on trying to sound like Rob or trying to sound like somebody else. I'm like, or saying I sound like him. Like, I got to be honest, as a singer and as a musician, when I hear my singing, the only person I sound like is me. I don't hear myself sounding. I might have the same style, or, you know, if anybody sings a high note, God forbid they sound like somebody else, you know, but I like doing high notes. I don't like singing all songs full of high notes. Right. You know, if you notice, it's not, you usually selectively put your songs like that and do a thing here and there. But, you know, I'd rather sing more versatile and balls out, you know.
Yeah. And speaking of balls out, another great track is Raise Your Fists. Can you tell me anything about that one?
Oh, I love that one. You know, it's funny. Ken made sure you know, you'll have someone go, well, that's kind of cheesy. And I'm like, yeah. So like Living After Midnight, if, you know, these are what lyrics are like. I mean, Judas Priest was full of lyrics like that. Yeah. Dio, all these bands made, you know, they have and the thing about Raise Your Fists that all bands always write songs for is to, you know, get into it. This is, you know, Ken wrote this is what he's done. This is all he knows. Get to the venue and put the equipment up and do your sound checks and open the doors and people come in and raise your fists. It's a really cool track. I mean, I like it more and more and more as I've listened to it. You know, sometimes you live with songs, you don't like them as much, whatever. That one, it's just a fun track. And I always say, instead of cheesy, which I'm all right with cheesy. I mean, cheesy pays the bills. I'll do it. But I always say it's true songs. It's like a nod to things. It's like celebrations, you know, and that song's a pure, straightforward metal track. That's for sure.
Now, the actual name of the band, is it meant to be sort of a slight, or is it simply recognition of history for you guys?
Well, it's recognition in my thing. You know, when Ken first said he was going to name it, I mean, listen, I understand if someone doesn't like the name. I don't understand if somebody says, I'm not listening to the record because it's the name. Right. I mean, there's a lot of names out there where I'm pretty sure people didn't like. I mean, I'm pretty sure if somebody doesn't like the name KK's Priest, I'm sure they won't listen to the band Anthrax.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, I'm just saying. But here's the thing. We have to do this now. We're not out here to invent the wheel. I mean, we're doing what we do. Yep. And promoters, agents, record labels, they need something to grasp onto as well. But KK built a legacy. He's an original member of Judas Priest. He was there from the beginning, and they're close. I mean, there was some little bit right before he got there, but he was basically a founding member of this Judas Priest. And I mean, why not call it KK's Priest? I mean, it's not. The thing is, we're not Judas Priest. No. It's not called Judas Priest. I keep telling people like, oh, so now there's two Judas Priests. It's like, no, this isn't called Judas Priest. I mean, it's not called Judas Priest. It's called KK's Priest. I get what you're saying, but it's not called KK's Judas Priest. Mm-hmm. There's an awesome version of Judas Priest out there. that is doing their thing. I mean, we're KK's Priest. We're a brand new heavy metal band, and there's Judas Priest. Long live the metal gods, and they're out there.
Just speaking of Judas Priest, I mean, it's like, I think they're down to with 2 original members now, and there's 2. I guess there's 2 members of Priest now. I mean, some people saying there are 2 versions of the same band going around, but I think that is just awesome. It's just all great metal, you know.
Well, it is metal. I mean, actually, Judas Priest is down. I think Ian's the only original member of the band left.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I got to be honest, though. I'm not like that with everybody. I will say they got 3 members of Judas Priest in there because Scott's been in there for so damn long too.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, really, but and technically they got Ian Hill was the only original one. But you're right. You just nailed it. I mean, they're out there. Celebrate Judas Priest and go and be happy. Cake is doing it. Who cares? You don't like the name. Everybody likes to complain about everything nowadays. I mean,
of course
whether they don't like me wearing a baseball hat or KK wearing a leather vest. One guy bitched about in the Raise Your Fists in the Air that old men wearing leather. And I said, did you even watch the video? Because I don't have a stitch of leather on in the video anyway. Even though you're already just ready to complain that people want to pounce. This is stupid. This is cheesy. Let me go listen to Have a Drink on Me. Yeah. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, good Lord, man.
I think it's just that the internet has made it just so easy for people just to bitch. And unfortunately, is that because, I mean, doing what you do, it's just people take it so personally and say it's sacred.
Well, and listen, everybody can say what they want, but it's funny because if you say something back to somebody who's said you suck and they hate you, if you say something back to them like, oh, really? You're going to say something to me? I'm like, you just, but people don't have to like anything, and they can say they don't like it. That's their right. That's their prerogative. I don't care. But it's when they give you advice. Here's how those lyrics are cheesy. Those melodies aren't any good. Those song structures all wrong. Yet they dig ditches for a living, or they flip burgers or something, and they've never written a song in their life. And then I'll respond back to them. Hey, listen, that's cool. I would love to hear the material you've written and what songs you got the Grammys for. And your number 1 hit song, so I can see the structure of how I'm supposed to do it. And then they get mad at you like, oh, really? It's just like, I couldn't imagine standing outside my girlfriend getting brain surgery and then saying to the doctor, here's what I think you should do. You're doing it wrong. And my girlfriend's a paramedic, and I know she gets it all the time with people. Are you doing that right? It's like, I'm a paramedic. This is, I mean, it's the people that just drive you crazy because you wouldn't do that at certain things, but they always think they got the right answer, and that's it. Not liking something is fine.
Yeah.
We're not out here, and like I said, we're out here we're just rocking and rolling. We're making music to have fun and try to make people smile. We're not out here trying to invent something new.
And again, speaking of Priest, I guess you heard about Richie Faulkner. Have you ever met Richie?
Yeah, we've come across quite a bit. We've had some drinks together, and Richie and I are friends, and as I am with all of Judas Priest. And I wish him well. Hopefully he'll get better and come back and be ready to go, stronger than ever now that he's hopefully gotten all of his health issues fixed. And hopefully they find out how what was wrong and how it happened, and they get him back out there. I'm just glad they got it all worked out.
Absolutely. Now, just looking back at a little bit of your history, Tim, going back to 2003, joining Iced Earth, coming out of Priest. Tell me about your experience with that band and working with John Schaefer.
Oh, it was a great transition because, Iced Earth was playing as big of venues and selling as many records as Judas Priest was at the time, because metal was, here's what I say about Iced Earth. Iced Earth was like the minor leagues of professional heavy metal, and Judas Priest was the major leagues.
Sure.
But they're still pros, and they're still, you say to someone, I'm in Judas Priest, they heard of them. You say Iced Earth, they didn't, the layman people. But it was good. It was fun. I learned more making a Glorious Burden about history than I did in high school. Yes. I learned, I went to Gettysburg and it was amazing. But it was good. It wasn't the same as Priest. Priest and I had a friendship and a bond, and we did more stuff together. But it was a good good thing, and it, for the few years it lasted, and made some great music. It was nice to leave Judas Priest and go to something that was still top tier. I mean, we headlined Wacken, which was at that time 68,000 people or something like that. So I mean, we were doing great things. Were you surprised with the whole thing with John Schaefer and that whole thing that happened? Well, I really lost contact. I didn't leave on good terms. We weren't friends when I left. I mean, I never burned bridges, but the way he fired me and the way he let me go, we never were on good terms. Right. We weren't the same. We never talked politics when I was in the band. I know when I was in Iced Earth, I was a Democrat. He was a Republican right at that time. And we never talked politics. He never talked politics ever, did he? But I just noticed when I did leave and seeing things that people talked about, I could see that something had changed with him from when I was in the band. But I never, we never talked about things, and I didn't know what was going on with him and his personal life and his political stuff. So I really didn't follow him too much because we didn't run in the same circles. Listen, messed up, in my opinion. You mess up, you'll be paying for it for a long time. But I'm certain for John, I'm certain there's still a lot of people out there buying his records, so he's probably still paying the bills. Now, another experience you've had, certainly back in 2008, working with Yngwie Malmsteen. Is that something you would still consider going back and someone you would work with again, or what was that experience like? I would do. Yeah. I mean, when, I quit, Yngwie's the only band, I get fired from Judas Priest and I get fired from Iced Earth. Understood the Judas Priest one 100%. But I actually quit Yngwie because I just was doing a lot of solo stuff, and he would offer me shows and I couldn't do them, but it was great. I actually had a great time with Yngwie. A lot different style of music for me and some singing, but it was so fun to watch him play. And, I got to say, he loves to play guitar. Yeah. He plays it all like there's a guitar next to every chair in his house. When he sits down, he just plays. He's playing the blues, and he has a good sense of humor. I had a good time with him. I would do a tour with him and do something with him again. I know he doesn't love his singers from what he's posting all the time, but I don't. Yngwie and we got along well. I mean, I'm not. It's not like he treated me good. Not that he treated everybody else around him good, but he treated me good. Nice. And we got along, so it was, I just wanted to chalk that up when I joined that band to say I played with someone who changed the face of guitar playing at one point. Certainly did. So it was pretty cool. Now, is Charred Walls of the Damned still active? Well, I imagine we are. It's one of those bands you release something every now and then. It's whenever Richard calls and says, "Hey Tim, I got something," and it's like, "Can you do it?" I do Charred Walls because I love to do it. Definitely not a money making thing. Right. That's for sure. Especially nowadays that I record all the time, right. Mm-hmm. But it's so fun. And he's such a Richard's such a great friend. Mm-hmm. You couldn't find a nicer guy. And the songs are so good. I mean, the last record, I absolutely really love it. And it's great material. I mean, so whenever he would call me and say, "Let's go in the studio," I mean, I'm there, It's just hard financially. You can't really tour with it because it's just not open to go make the money that I would need to make to go tour. Understood. And, but I would do it if it could be worked out. I would. But it's definitely. I'm certain there'll be another record. 100% certain there'll be another record. I hope so, because I think Richard Christy is great. Yeah, he is. He should. I'm certain he'll have his own show one of these days for sure too. Because I can't. Or be writing for somebody else's show because he's got a crazy mind. I had to bring this up too. One of my favorite episodes of Bar Rescue was your episode with Ripper's Rock House. I've heard so many stories from people about how that experience was for you. Give it to me straight. What was that thing like with John Taffer and your bar and everything? Well, you got to be we had one of the most boring episodes. That's what's funny because, here's the thing. They called us out of the blue and said, we're going to be in Youngstown, Ohio. Would you guys be interested in doing it? We're like, well, we're not losing money and we don't really need to. And we thought, what the hell? Let's do it. I mean,
sure.
So it was, the show's not real.
No.
Everything that they do, I mean, they make you film things over and over again. It's within 3 or 4 days. Nice. John was very nice. We talked music. He said, I used to be a drummer. And I used to run the troubadour, and then the cameras would flick on and be like, "You son of a bitch," Right. But he was a great guy, and everybody that did it was great. They just try to make stuff up. I love the changes. They just changed the inside. The people that came to the restaurant didn't dig it because they liked the memorabilia that was up on the walls, but they did great things, and we eventually sold. Just because I got a tour, my partner has a big landscaping company. So it wasn't like Bar Rescue didn't work out for us. It's just we had to do other things. But it was good. It just, the things they do, like when they make the kitchen look dirty. Well, our kitchen wasn't dirty. When you pull clubs out, and they show up frying pans that are dirty, and they're like, no, that's from cooking. Everything you get goes and gets washed when it's done. That's like the seasoned pan. Don't unseason our pan, please. But the health department was like, what the hell? Because we're checked. We never got anything wrong with us. So they really try to find stuff and make it look bad. And it's not a real show. Yeah. But it's people go, it didn't work for you. You can't even run a restaurant. It's like we didn't even call them. But again, these are professionals that know everything about us. Tim can't run a business. First of all, my name's on the sign.
Yeah.
That was the main thing with me. My name was on the sign. I wasn't running the business. Right. Second of all, it was running just fine. My business partner was doing a great job, but they called us out of the blue and said, would you like to do it? So it's not even like, I remember my partner threw money. They made him throw money in the air like he's throwing it away. And this other scene, we were done filming. They said, hey, Micah, flip the camera off. And he flipped it off. And I said, in the show, you're going to be flipping me off. And that's exactly what they did, in the show. It's like,
Tim, thanks so much, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time.
If you want to do it again, just get a hold of me and we'll talk some more.
I'll message you.
Yeah, do it. All right, buddy.
There he is. That is KK's Priest frontman Tim Ripper Owens with the whole lowdown on everything that's going on with him. And of course, Sermons of the Sinner by KK's Priest available now. And it's a great listen front to back, man. It really, really is. Just like if you dig hard rock and metal, that's definitely an album you're going to want to listen to front to back. But hey, I'm Scott Penfold here with you on the Loaded Radio podcast. And this is usually the second portion of the podcast where Johnny Rude will join me live from Las Vegas, but he's off this week. So I'm going to be going it alone, just looking at the week that was in hard rock and metal. But I think some of the big news from last week would definitely have to be that David Lee Roth has announced his retirement from music, and this is going to be happening after his Las Vegas residency. Yeah. Now, Dave says he's throwing in the shoes. He was talking to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and he said, I'm retiring. This is the first and only official announcement. You've got the news. Share it with the world. Then he went on to add, I'm not going to explain the statement. The explanation is in a safe. These are my last 5 shows. Roth's always been kind of fucking weird. You ever notice that? The explanation is I've just always found like Dave he always speaks in code. It's like you always got to try and figure out what exactly he's saying there. It's like, Dave, what'd you have for dinner last night? 15 is better than 30 when it comes to carbs and proteins. I mean, that's the kind of answer you'd get when it comes to Roth. It's just a strange dude. I mean, come on. Am I allowed to say that now? I mean, sure. He's one of the greatest frontmen, I think, of all time. Incredible frontman. Just awesome. I mean, what he did with Van Halen, just monumental. But he's just strange dude. Just is. Anyway, he also went on to a comment about the passing of Van Halen guitarist Eddie Van Halen, who, of course, we lost from cancer a year ago. He says, I thought I might have been the first, frankly. I might have thought the Marlboro Man would have got me. Hey, Ed, objects in the rearview mirror, probably me. You see what I'm talking about? He just makes no sense with what he says. None. And my doctors, my handlers compelled me to really address that every time I go on stage. I endeavor that future. Okay, so anyway, Dave is going to be packing it in. He's going to return to the Mandalay Bay and the House of Blues in Vegas. Great venue, too, for a new series of shows that are going to kick off with a New Year's Eve performance coming up, and then 4 concerts throughout January 2022, and then that's it. He says, I know that when I am in the audience, whether you come out with a ukulele or a marching band, all I ask is you give me everything you've got to give. That's what I did for the last 50 years. I've given you all I've got to give. It's been an amazing, great run. No regrets. Nothing to say about anybody. I'll miss you all. Stay frosty. And plain and simply, I think it also comes down to the fact that Dave just cannot sing the way he used to. I mean, not that Dave was ever an incredible singer. He's no tenor. I'm going to say, remember when Dave first got back with Van Halen and they released that album when Sammy got all pissed off because Dave came back to record 2 new tracks with Van Halen for that best of album that came out? Even back then, that was like the 90s. I remember even back then listening to the song Me Wise Magic. Remember that tune? And you could just hear him kind of struggling a bit there. You know, you could tell the age was settling in a bit. I mean, of course it happens to all of us. You can't put the guy down for that. He can't help it, right? But you could sort of tell it was happening. And then by the time it got to, you know, the full-on reunion with Van Halen and fronting the band, I mean, it's just, I mean, a lot of it is Dave having the crowd sing or, you know, talking the lyrics. And again, I'm not putting Dave down. He's incredible. I'm one of the best frontmen ever. But I mean, this, calling it quits, if he had done it 20 years ago, I would have understood then too. You know, that's all I'm going to say. But Dave, we're definitely going to miss you, man. You are definitely a character. Even if a lot of the time he just makes absolutely no sense with what he says. Like none whatsoever. What else we got? Looks like Motley Crue going to continue their 40th anniversary celebrations with a digital remaster of Shout at the Devil. Because Motley Crue has been releasing all of their albums, re-releasing, well, all the early ones, all the good ones, all the ones that mattered, like Up to Feel Good, and that's it, right? Because, let's be honest, I mean, well, you know what, the self-titled album, that's in a category of itself. I mean, I consider that to be a different band than Motley Crue. That's just me. I mean, you know, the whole Karabi thing, I'm just not even going to touch that right now. But, yeah, up to Dr. Feelgood. I mean, they got the digital remasters already of Dr. Feelgood, Girls, 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 and Theater of Pain. Those kicked off the band's 40th anniversary, so they're going backwards from Feelgood. And, yeah, I guess I don't think we'll be seeing Generation Swine get the remaster treatment. Yeah, so the next one that's coming out will be Shout at the Devil. And it looks like, I mean, an iconic album. I mean, the title track, Looks to Kill, Too Young to Fall in Love. And I guess what they're going to do is they're going to culminate the 40th anniversary celebrations with the digital remaster of Too Fast for Love, their debut album, arriving exactly 40 years to the original release date of November the 10th, 1981. So yes, get prepared for Too Fast for Love. That 40th anniversary edition coming out in November. Also looking at some guitarists, as Devil Driver splitting with guitarist Neil Timon, who has played guitar with them for the last 6 years. Seems like a very cordial split. No word on who's going to be filling in for him with the Des Fafara fronted band. And ex-As I Lay Dying guitarist Nick Hipa has actually launched the new band Meyer, which is a pretty cool threesome at this point. They have a new single called Refined, which you can check out online. It's pretty damn good. So definitely best of luck to Nick Hipa, who left As I Lay Dying in kind of a strange way. Just, I mean, because he'd been gone for so long and they didn't announce that he'd been gone for so long. And then when he said that he had left, it was because, I mean, things didn't meet his expectations in a certain way. And I mean, it was cordial, but it was kind of, I mean, it was cordial, but I don't think you're going to be seeing Nick going out for beers with the guys anytime soon. You know what I mean? And according to the website of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, legendary Savatage singer John Nicholas Alva was arrested last week for driving under the influence as well as possession of a controlled substance, turned out to be cocaine. He's 62 years old. And yeah, I guess he bailed out, and he will be appearing in court over that, which is never a fun thing to do. And what's he doing now for a living, I wonder? I mean, it's not like Savatage is really active or anything. What's John Oliva doing besides driving around trying to score a blow in Florida, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and put the guy down. We all do stupid shit. We all, make mistakes. He just got caught. Let's see as well. Some kind of shitty news, if you're a big fan of thrash, of course, is Testament, Exodus, and Death Angels. The Bay Strikes Back tour is postponed now to 2022. Not really a big surprise with every tour out there kind of getting, postponed until 2022. Again, perhaps we may have gotten back into things a little bit too soon because we're starting to see people still get affected. We're starting to see bands get affected by this. Band members, somebody in the crew getting COVID-19, and that just shuts the whole production down. So Testament, Exodus, and Death Angel now postponing the North American leg of their The Bay Strikes Back tour to 2022. You can get tour dates if you want online or at loadedradio.com. They'll be kicking off in April of next year and going right through to toward the end of May. So now you're up to date. That keeps you up to stat, I guess, with everything going on in hard rock and metal. And hey, don't forget, as always, check out loadedradio.com for your hard rock and metal news updated constantly, as well. The 24-hour stream, the radio station's right there for you with all the shows we do. And yeah, nothing but hard rock and metal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with live personalities, niche programming, big name interviews, and of course, tons of hard rock and metal, like I said. All right. The next edition of the Loaded Radio podcast, we'll have Johnny Rude back with us, and we'll be going over the top 13 female-fronted hard rock and metal bands of all time as voted by you, the Loaded Radio listener. We'll have that for you as well. I'll be talking with Ben Bruce from Asking Alexandria. So that'll be a great show coming up next week right here on the Loaded Radio podcast. I'm Scott Penfold, and we'll talk to you then.
Loaded Radio.